I guess I should start by saying that, I teach a lot of different classes at different libraries. Uh, Certainly done a number here already, so that's been a lot of fun, but this one's going to be a little bit different. This is actually a class that I have not taught in a library before because, normally I'm doing a lot of cooking, using a grill or a skillet or something. And, normally it's not really conducive to do that in the middle of a library. But, since you are in my kitchen, my vast kitchen, as you can see here, then we're gonna try something a little bit new tonight. So coming to my rescue for tonight is going to be a couple of different appliances here. Hopefully you can see it okay. I got the food processor. This is a Cuisinart Elite. It's really heavy, but it's got a big capacity. There's a 14 cup capacity. So, I like to be able to, instead of using a smaller one, it's really nice to have a large capacity one. So much more convenient. So you don't have to do it in batches. You can just, throw everything in one and do it that way. And also in the back here, you'll see I have an air fryer. So instead of turning the camera around and trying to cook on a stove or grill or anything like that, for tonight's purposes, we're going to be using an air fryer. If you haven't seen one before, it's basically like a countertop convection oven. It has a fan in it, and you can use very little oil to be able to cook burgers and fries and all kinds of things in there. So it's a much healthier alternative to frying. Let's see, a little bit about me. I've been vegan for the last 25 years. Certainly, most people who come to the cooking classes that I do are not vegan or vegetarian. They're just kind of interested in learning more about, healthier eating. And so, whatever brings people to the table, then I like to be able to help to teach people, some healthier recipes. So I did write a cookbook, the Healthy Vegan Cookbook, and that came out last year. That is available on Amazon, so that's my little plug there. These recipes that we're going to do tonight are from that book. There's about 200 different recipes in there, but tonight we're focusing on veggie burgers and veggie sausages. So, just a couple things about that before we dive into actually starting to make things. So if you're familiar with veggie burgers at all, there's kind of, there's like black bean burgers or, different kind of grain burgers that you may have seen in restaurants or seen recipes for. And then there's sort of the meat analog recipe or products like Impossible Burger, Beyond Burger, something like that. So what we're going to be making tonight and what I have recipes for in the book is be making whole food burgers. So instead of I don't know how to make Beyond Burgers. I don't know what kind of chemicals go into that. Not to say that I've never had one before. It's just, for most of the food that I eat is food that I make at home here. And so, I like to be able to use, whole, healthy ingredients instead of, more of the chemical stuff. So we're going to get into all that. And let's see. Is there anything else? So there's going to be 3 recipes for tonight. There's Indian masala burgers that I'm making. There's the Cuban black bean burgers. And then there's going to be an Italian veggie sausage kind of thing. So each of these kind of takes a while to cook. So I'll be able to do the burgers tonight. The sausages, you have to steam them and cook them for about 45 minutes, which we don't have time to do tonight, but I can definitely walk through it. I put all the ingredients out, so I'll show you how to do it. And then all that you'd have to do on your own is, put it in a pot and get it cooking. So why don't we start with the first recipe? That's going to be the Indian masala burgers. This one I kind of tried to model after, if anybody's had masala burgers from Trader Joe's, then these are pretty similar to that. Of course, I don't have all of the ingredients. I don't know their secret recipe, but I tried to come as close as I could to that. So this one we're going to be using, let's see, let me get started with the food processor here. All right. So I'm gonna put in two large Yukon Gold potatoes. Magic of doing this online is I've cooked everything already, so it's all just prepared and ready to go in. So there's two large Yukon Gold potatoes that I've peeled and cubed. You don't have to peel them. If you like to have the peel on, then even better. But put that in here. So those have been cooked already. So those are soft. One of the things with veggie burgers that I definitely recommend is, people ask me, they tried to make veggie burgers before at home, but they kind of come out like mushy and kind of uncooked. So definitely one thing, whatever you're going to put in, make sure that it's cooked. So basically when you're frying it, you're just kind of, getting it cohesive in one patty. But, you definitely don't want to bite into a piece of like uncooked garlic or something like that, or uncooked veggies. So this one, you definitely want to cook all of the ingredients in it first. So we put in the potatoes. We're going to put in half a cup of oat flour. So this one I put some oats in my Vitamix, or you can buy oat flour, but basically you just have to get oats into a powder somehow, whether it's food processor or blender or whatever it is you want to do. But the oats really help to absorb a lot of the moisture from the vegetables here, so it helps to keep it firm. So I'm going to put in the oat flour here. And let's see, there's got chickpeas here. So there's going to be a half a cup of chickpeas. These are already cooked. You do have all of these recipes available offline, I believe, or online, I should say. So these are in the notes already. You don't have to like write it down as I'm going here. But here we go. There's a half a cup of the chickpeas. All right. So there are a number of veggies that I cooked ahead of time. So there's going to be half a cup of chopped yellow onions. There's going to be a half a cup of chopped carrots, and half a cup of corn kernels, and let's see, half a cup of green bell pepper. So basically, I just water sauteed the whole thing, so that that's all that there is here. But it's all the veggies here. All right, there's going to be a third of a cup of fresh chopped cilantro there. All right. And we're going to add 2 cloves of garlic and 1-inch thumb of grated ginger. So I already grated this up ahead of time, so I'm going to put that in here. Okay. And, like all these other live classes, one of the benefits of doing these classes in my kitchen is I get to eat all the food when I'm all done. So that's great. All right, so I put a number of different spices in here. So there's, let's see, there's a tablespoon of curry powder, which actually I have a recipe in the book for my own blend of curry powder. So this is homemade in here. And there's half a teaspoon of sea salt that's in here, and also a 1/4 teaspoon of black mustard seeds. So I'll put that in here.
So Colin, I know I was looking at the recipe, which people may be following online right now, and you call that your blasphemous curry powder. Can you tell us why it's blasphemous?
Well, in real Indian cooking, they're not really, true Indian cooks don't use curry powder. Curry powder it's more of like an American invention of like, here's a bunch of spices that make things taste like it's Indian. But in the process of writing different recipes in the book, I found it was easier to have some kind of a curry powder like that you could just kind of throw in a tablespoon of that and give it the flavor that I wanted. So I kind of wrote my own curry powder recipe, but it is kind of blasphemous to have curry powder if you're really into Indian cooking. So So that's why I call it that, just for fun. So I have all the ingredients in here. So I'm going to process this for a minute. So the thing is, you want to be able to blend it up just enough so that it's forming, that everything is combined and you don't have whole pieces of things, but you don't want to process it so much that it just becomes like a uniform kind of paste. So you want to still have some of the, the texture of like the green peppers and things like that in there, and the corn a little bit. So we're gonna try and do that. So you wanna take over talking for a minute, Clayton?
Oh, sure. I can talk for a minute or two.
All right.
This is a good time to remind everybody. So I am watching the chat stream here where I put the links to the recipes tonight and the thanks to the friends. You can also, I'm watching it on, what is this? I think this is the Facebook and this is the YouTube stream. So I'm watching all the streams I can possibly handle. So please, if you have any questions for Colin, put a question out across wherever you can find it, and hopefully I'll see it. I can't see all of you at once as I'm watching Colin, so just waving your hands and letting me know is probably not the most effective way to get my attention. But it's just a great way, certainly, to ask. There is a couple questions that are here. One is, what exactly do Indians use instead of curry? So, Colin, would you like to answer that?
Well, it's curry powder is basically just a combination of turmeric and cumin powder, coriander, a number of different spices. In restaurants, they actually do use curry powder, or sort of like a base of different spices put together. But for traditional home Indian cooking, like I did an Indian cooking class years ago that I went to, and the teacher was Indian, and somebody mentioned curry powder, and she's like, "What? No, no real Indian cook uses curry powder. Forget it. Forget that even exists."
I've heard people actually say as well that, like, in authentic Indian cooking, it's a lot about sequencing, and like you want to put the spices in at different times, and so to put them all together, you lose that ability. Like turmeric, for example, I think people like to cook at a much higher temperature typically, and if you put it in, like it depends on when you cook it. So
right. Yep.
There's another question for the corn kernels. How are you getting them? Are you using an uncooked cob? Are you using frozen? Are you taking them from a can? What do you do for corn?
I'm usually using frozen corn, so that's just the most convenient for me. Yep. So now that I've blended it, but not too much, you can see there's still flecks of well, I don't know if you can really see very well on mine, but there's still flecks of color from there's the orange from the carrots and green, and then some of the corn. So it's like this. It's kind of it's pretty sticky. So what I like to do is I will use some kind of, like in this recipe, I use chickpea flour, but you can also use cornmeal. So that's basically making the outside, it, like puts a powder on the outside. So what I do is take some chickpea flour. This is from an Indian supermarket. But I think you can find chickpea flour at a lot of regular supermarkets now too. But basically, it's just ground chickpeas. So I put some in a bowl here. You can see here, and then all I'm going to do is I'll make a couple of patties and put those in the air fryer. Like I said, you definitely don't need an air fryer to do this. It's just for the purposes of doing it in front of a camera. I'm not going to have 3 different skillets going at the same time or anything. That'd be too much. Plus, this is also, like I said, it's a healthy way to do it. So, all right. So you have basically like a handful of the mixture, and kind of flatten it out, and then I put it in a plate, coat it with the cornmeal, and like you can see, that's it here. Right. So I'm going to do that several times. Sorry, I don't really have enough room to do everything on camera, so I guess you got to use your imagination a little bit. But all right, so I'm putting it on a piece of parchment paper, so it makes it easy to turn it over in the air fryer. So one thing I would like to mention in all of this is, like I said, I don't make Beyond Burgers or Impossible Burgers. Those do tend to hold up pretty well with on a grill or something like that. Where you can flip them and they don't fall apart. These ones, because they are made from natural ingredients and they do. That's why I use the parchment paper. You can flip them, or like a piece of tinfoil on a grill. You would want to cook it with that. There's nothing in this like wheat gluten or anything that is going to really make it super solid and hold together. So you have to be kind of careful when you flip it over. So there's a second. I'm going to do one more here. And one thing with the air fryer is that you can use just a little bit of spray oil. I'll do that in just a little bit. And so basically it's, putting a thin coat of oil, and that's going to help to make it crispy on the outside. So let's see, there's my third burger here. Also, these do freeze very well. So you can, I usually, I'll make a whole batch and then end up putting some in the freezer and then just be able to make them later on. So let me just wash my hands off here.
While you wash your hands, Colin, there's some question about the chickpeas. Wondering about do you like to use them dry and soak them? Do you get them from a can? What's your favorite source for chickpeas?
I usually will make them. It is definitely convenient to use them from a can. So, if that's your best option, then you can certainly do that. But I typically don't like to use stuff from cans. I do like to be able to, cook the whole beans, soak them, and then cook them. I have the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. Makes it super easy to do that. So, when it's a matter of super convenience, then, canned is very convenient. But if you have some time, plan ahead, then it's really easy to cook the chickpeas in a pressure cooker. And also, it's so much cheaper to do it that way as well. So hold on just a second. I got to reach around the camera here. And I have a little bottle of avocado cooking spray. So it's just a little spritzer. And so I'm just going to do a couple of sprays on the burgers here. And if you have an air fryer, then you'll know what I'm talking about. I'll do 370 for maybe 6 minutes or so. And then I can turn that over when it's all done and, cook it a little bit more. But, it's definitely something you can put in a skillet and just, kind of fry on either side. You can put it in the oven, and I actually brought, I use a silicone cooking mat, a Silpat. So this is mine. It's very used. So I promise you it's clean. It just gets brown after a while. So you can put that onto a metal cookie sheet, and you can bake these that way. It's fine to do that as well. One thing that I talk about in the cookbook that makes a big difference with these is to have the perfect condiment that goes with the recipe. So for an Indian masala burger, I'm going to use a little bit of vegan mayo. I have a recipe in the book for vegan mayo that doesn't use any oil. So usually if I have that on hand, I'll use that. If you have just some already pre-made vegan mayo from the store, then I usually will, put some mayo with some of the curry powder and mix that together. So, for this burger, that kind of sauce, or like some kind of a tamarind sauce, that really complements the burger, the flavor of the burger really well. So I would recommend that. So that's cooking away. I need to get this cleaned out just for a minute so that I can move on to the next thing here.
Colin, as you're cleaning that out, I was glad you were saying about using the silicone mat and cutting down oil. I know that limiting oil consumption is important to some of our viewers tonight. To many of us, we should all be concerned about how much oil we're eating. And there was a comment that even the small amount of the avocado oil is adding a lot of fat to the burger. So I don't know if you have any suggestions about other ways, maybe baking on silicone or something, so you can even cut down if people are interested in even eliminating that.
Yeah, you could do that. You know, using a couple of spritzes from the spray really does not add that much. But you know, if you were trying to be you know, completely oil free, then you know, just putting it on the silicone mat or using the parchment paper. You don't have to use the oil. It's just to kind of make it a little bit crispier, but you can just bake it without the oil, and that would be okay too. So one of the benefits of being in my kitchen here is that I get to rinse everything out here. And usually when I do these classes at libraries, I have to have a runner who can bring everything into the other room and wash it out. So.
Yes, there's no secret helpers today in the back. So there's
one of
another
the
question.
Things that,
So somebody else was wondering, this is kind of specific to using the air fryer, if you have any idea what makes the food crispy when, you know, or why the oil makes the food crispy when you're air frying or roasting. They said they tried roasting broccoli once without using any oil, and it just didn't turn out the same.
right.
Why is that? You know?
The oil is making it crispy. I can't tell you chemically why that's happening, but
Okay. It's just it's a secret ingredient. Yeah.
Yeah, secret ingredient that's really not so great for you, but
Great.
All right. So I think we're ready for the next one. One thing I wanted to point out, you know, when I am teaching these recipes, talking about these recipes, excuse me a second, you know, people will say, you know, veggie burgers are like, oh, like, you know, people, or especially the veggie sausages, people will say, you know, that's gross, like vegetarian sausage, like what's in that? And, you know, I always laugh because, like, really, like, you ever think about what's in a meat sausage or a meat burger? I mean, you know, really, you want to compare one to the other of what's disgusting. I mean, you know, I think whatever they put in hot dogs and sausages is like, you know, one step above cat food. It's, you know, not something you want to eat. But anyway, I've been vegan for a long time, so that's where I come from. So I'm just moving stuff over for the next.
While you're doing that, I've been having a conversation with someone who's talking about, you know, some concern. I know there are people who concern. There's obviously raw food folks, and people who extol the value of not cooking anything at all. But since we are cooking, there's some concern that, you know, maybe oil is burning things, and there's an idea that you can crisp things. One suggestion is to spritz it with a little vinegar. That's not something I've tried. I don't know if you've done that before. I know you talked about doing a water saute with some of the ingredients earlier, and that's certainly something I have familiar experience in. But,
yeah, well, I mean, certainly in comparison to what you would normally do, you know, certainly in comparison to, you know, having any kind of a meat burger, this is inherently going to be a lot less fat. But then, you know, if you're water sauteing, you know, veggies to cook them, if you just, again, like spritzing them with a little bit of oil, it's so much less fat than, you know, if you were eating meat. So, you know, even if you're using a little bit of fat when you're preparing it, then it's certainly, you know, vastly less than, you know, what would be in meat if you were eating that. So, you know, so I don't, in the cookbook, I have very few recipes out of the 200 recipes. Very few of them use any oil. Most of them are oil free. So believe me, I definitely understand, you know, that perspective. For veggie burgers, you know, these kind of things that I'm doing, you know, this is where it would be beneficial to use a little bit if you were okay with using a little bit, just to kind of make it a little crispier. So, all right, so these ones are ready. So what I would do is put them in probably for another 5 or 6 minutes and just kind of turn it over, put it back in here. And again, just spritz them a little bit. If you wanted to, you certainly don't have to. And let's see. I'm a big fan of the ones from Trader Joe's, the masala burgers. You know, really love those. So that's kind of, you know, that's why I tried to copy their recipes in the first place, or recipe for this one. But I think this one, if you've ever had it before, then you know that they're pretty greasy. There's a lot of oil in it, so this is a healthier way to do it. So we'll spritz each one a little bit there. Put it back in for another 6 minutes. And again, if you were, putting these in the oven, it would be, probably 5 or 6 minutes on each side. If you were putting them on a grill or, on a frying pan, then, just like 5 minutes on each side. Like I said, everything that goes into it, it's already cooked. So it's not like, meat where you are having to cook it to make sure it doesn't kill you. So, great side benefit of vegetarian, vegan food. It's not going to kill you. All right. So do we have any other questions before I go on to the next one?
There was one other question, which was the recipe calls for 2 large Yukon Gold potatoes. But if you're using cubed potatoes, let's say you already had some potatoes in your freezer that you prepped them ahead of time, how many cups would you say is 2 large potatoes?
I'd say it's probably about 2 cups overall. One of the things that the potato is really doing is it's very sticky, so it's really helping to act as a binder for this kind of a recipe. One thing that I forgot to mention before is definitely in these 2 burger recipes and all the recipes, what I do recommend, and we're not really able to do this because of time, is once you do the mixture in the food processor, it's really best to let it sit for about 15 minutes or so. Like I said, you have oat flour in that last recipe where that's kind of absorbing the moisture from the veggies that are in there, and it definitely it holds up a little bit better if you just let it sit, just let it rest for about 15 minutes, let everything get absorbed, and then you would start cooking after that. So, all right. Let's see. Cuban black bean burgers is the next thing. So if you look online, there are 3 million different recipes for black bean burgers. So this is, the masala burger is kind of a specialty one, but this one is more of a mainstream kind of veggie burger. So I wanted to try and include something that would be a little bit more mainstream in here, in addition to the fun and delicious and awesome masala burgers. But that might not be to everybody's taste. Maybe people want just kind of a regular kind of burger that you could have at a cookout. And like I said, the condiments make so much of a difference. So you put you have a veggie burger. You put, the ketchup and mustard and relish, and you put, like for me, I would put, a piece of vegan cheese on it, maybe, if I was at a cookout. Put all that together in a bun, and, really, how much different does it taste than what you're used to? So, Cuban black bean burger, this one's all about the spices. So the base of this is going to be black beans and some short grain brown rice. So go ahead and get started with that. So this is 2 cups of black beans. It's already cooked. So I'll put that in here. Black beans, it's sort of like the potatoes in the previous recipe. You blend it up and they do become paste. It adds like a sticky kind of paste to it. In the recipe, I believe I reserve some of the black beans and then put them in later just so that you have some whole black beans in the recipe. In this one, I'm just going to go ahead and put it all in, but you can do it either way. Sometimes when I make it, I like to actually have some of the black beans in there, just whole. Just reminds you that it's made out of good, healthy stuff. So there's going to be the brown rice. So I used short grain brown rice, and I like to use the short grain best for recipes like this because The short grain brown rice has a lot of starch to it. So you could also use it for things like sushi. It sticks very well, very sticky rice. So there's a cup of the cooked short grain brown rice.
Have you noticed a big difference between short and long grain?
Yep. Yep. So if I wanted, really sticky rice, then the short grain is much better, in my experience. I'll use it to make sushi and things like that, where it really needs to kind of stick together. Long grain brown rice, for me, tends to have a lot less starch and it's not quite as sticky. So this works a lot better. All right. So let's see. I'm just reviewing my own instructions here, make sure I'm not totally bungling the whole thing. I put in a quarter cup of red onion here. So mix that in. And we're going to put in one half of a green bell pepper. This one I cooked ahead of time, so I'm not going to be putting that in raw. Adds a delicious flavor though. All right, we're going to put in half a cup of the quick oats. So instead of using oat powder, I'm just using quick oats. You can use oat powder if you wanted to, but in this, the quick oats, if you don't have it as a powder, the quick oats kind of give it a little bit more of a body, like texture. So that's good. I like to leave it unprocessed there. And then we're going to put in a tablespoon of lime juice. So it's basically half a lime there. It's a great flavor too. We're going to put in a teaspoon of cumin. So that's cumin powder here. Put in. And a teaspoon of smoked paprika. I love to use the smoked kind and not just a regular. It adds just another dimension of smoky flavor to it. And that burger is ready. All right, we're going to do a teaspoon of the sea salt here. So some people don't like to use any salt. There isn't anything, I definitely do use some salt in the cookbook in different recipes, but if you don't like to use salt, then totally fine. You can just leave that out. And let's see, we're going to do half a teaspoon of liquid smoke here. So liquid smoke, if you don't already know, great. Basically sold in the condiment section in supermarkets. So it's basically just water that's been infused with smoke. So it really gives things a nice smoky flavor. So I'll put that in there just to enhance the smokiness of it a little bit. And let's see, make sure I'm not missing anything here. Oh, we got the 2 cloves of crushed garlic here. Put that in. And so the last one, when I was making the masala burger, and I said you don't want to blend it so much that you can't, see the individual veggies in it anymore. This one is I would blend it more so that everything is really well combined. You have the things like the garlic in there that you don't want to be biting into a big piece of garlic. So it's best to blend this up pretty well. So this one I'm going to go ahead and use the food processor for a minute. We're going to have to stop it a couple of times just to kind of scrape it down and mix it a little bit and keep it going. So you want to take over for a minute?
Sure, I can do a little talking.
Right.
I just learned on the, I think this is the Facebook stream, somebody was telling me, wondering if you have any experience with the Cuisinart TOA 60 air fryer toaster oven. And I'd never seen that device before. I don't know if you've seen it before. It looks really cool. So I don't know if you have experience using those, and I think there's some question about just how well, how, if you would adjust cooking times, if anything, how do you know when your burgers are done? How long, and there was a question also about how long is the prep time? If you're trying to budget your time for the night, how long do these recipes take to put together usually?
Oh, okay. All right. So the first one, the different kind of air fryers. I haven't used I have a couple of these power air fryer units. I got those at, I think they sell them at BJ's. And so these ones are, I'll move it over so you can see it. These ones are Uh, they're not like the cheapest ones that you can find, but there's ones that certainly have a lot more options. So this is really the only kind that I've used. I know that they make, I know that I have seen the Cuisinart one. That's like looks like a toaster oven, and it has, you know, a number of different functions. That sounds great. Breville, I believe, makes one also that a lot of people talk about. Also, you can get, I have the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker. I believe you can now buy an air fryer lid that goes over that. I have never actually used one myself, so I don't know how well it works, but I guess, you know, people, I've seen some comments online, people have said that they got it and that they're excited to use it. So there is an air fryer class that I teach where, you know, make a number of different things. I use it a lot for, you know, making, you know, potato French fries or like sweet potato fries. You know, when my kids walk through the door and they don't have a lot of time, and, you know, they want something that's quick and easy, then you know, throw some potatoes in with some herbs and a little bit of salt, you know, spritz it with a little bit of oil. It's usually what I do. Don't have to do that, but it does make it a little bit crispier. And, you know, put that in an air fryer, and, you know, in 20 minutes you have something that, you know, they're just snacking on and they love it. You know, I'll put beets, I'll cut up beets into like fry form and put those in the air fryer, or like carrots or something like that. You know, things that, you know, how many different ways can you have beets and carrots, but, you know, it's just another way to be able to do it. So air fryers are great. And let's see, as far as prep time goes, you know, probably takes about 20 minutes to put all of the ingredients together to do this. And then, you know, like I said, it usually takes about 15 minutes. I like to, you know, let it rest, let it sit for a little bit before I actually start cooking it. But, you know, the great thing, like I said, freezes really well. You know, this is definitely something that you could, you know, make the base of it, you know, put all the ingredients, put it in the food processor, and then just come back to it later. So, you know, you can do it earlier in the day, and then when you're actually ready to you know, start cooking it, it does help if you could, you know, have it, you know, form it into patties and everything all coated, and it'll be ready to go, and then you can just put it on the grill. So there was a middle question in there. I don't remember what that was.
I think the only other question that I think we need to address, I actually haven't asked you yet, which was, for this recipe, how did you cook the garlic?
Oh, I just crushed it.
You just crushed it, so it wasn't cooked at all. It was put into the burgers raw.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
If I forgot anybody's questions, please remind me in the chats. But yeah,
definitely one alternative for the garlic. If you're, you know, like I said, I would really want to blend this very well so that you're not going to, you know, bite into a big piece of garlic. You know, you could just use garlic powder. You know, that's totally fine too. It's going to give you the garlic flavor as well, and then you're not going to have to worry about, you know, how much power that raw garlic has. I love garlic. My wife loves garlic, so it's a happy garlic family here. All right, so I'm just going to blend it again, one or two more times, just to kind of get it all blended up here. One more here. Also, in addition to using the black beans, if you wanted to use kidney beans for this, then I guess technically it would not be a black bean burger anymore. But kidney beans, you know, there's all kinds of different recipes that I use black beans for. Kidney beans, sometimes I'll, you know, end up with a can of it somehow, and I'll kind of look at it and say, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know. I don't like kidney beans, you know, plain by themselves. I don't like the texture of it, but in a veggie burger recipe, great. So if you have anything like that, you have any kind of bean, you know, in your pantry, and you say, what do I do with this? Then make a burger out of it. So this is blended together pretty well here. And so this is a nice paste to it. And let's see, so as a base for this one, like in the last one, I used the chickpea flour. In this one, I'm going to use cornmeal for that. So I'm going to put that into a bowl here. And basically, same kind of thing as before. Let me take these out of here. And put these on the plate. I'll save these for later. Have a late dinner tonight, I guess. So they're my veggie burger patties. So, it looks different from what you're used to looking at, but oh, and it smells great too. Oh. All right. So move that out of the way here. And I certainly have enough to make like another 3 or 4 of those patties. So, each of these recipes does make, usually about 6 patties or so, depending on the size of how big you want to make it. So I'll put together a couple.
And you could double that if you wanted to make sliders, I bet. So
you could do that. Yep. So we have it's like a sticky paste. Right. So I'm gonna kind of form that into a patty kind of shape here. I'm gonna put it in the cornmeal just so that it's coated. Because if you tried to put the burger itself onto a grill or something like that, then it's definitely going to stick to that. So the cornmeal really helps with that. So you see, that's there. And I'm going to put that onto a piece of the parchment paper. The parchment paper I like to use for the air fryer, just so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the air fryer. So my air fryer has got a non-stick coating to the bottom, but people definitely have questions about non-stick coatings and the chemicals and everything. So, the parchment paper just helps it not to stick, and also it doesn't end up touching the non-stick coating. I know from a health perspective, sometimes people say, that they're not going to buy an air fryer because it's really hard to find one that doesn't have a non-stick coating on it. But you just use the parchment paper here. Good way around that. And then make one more here. Go. Just the spices that go into this and the red onion, it smells delicious. It's great. So this one, like I said, all about the condiments. This one I usually like to do some eggless mayo. Like I said, I usually just make my own, so it doesn't have the oil in it, but I put together some vegan mayo and mix it with some sriracha and put that onto the burger bun once it's cooked, and it is fantastic. So,
if you're making me one, you can use extra sriracha, Colin. I love that.
Yeah, the ghost pepper, right?
Yeah, that's right. I have some smoked ghost pepper powder that I put on pretty much everything. It's fabulous.
Oh,
I love it.
Wow. Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to do a couple of sprays per. And for about 6 minutes. Well, get that cooking.
What somebody's asking, as they're being creative and making veggie burgers themselves, are there any ingredients that you would avoid throwing into a veggie burger? Obviously, you were talking about all the different beans that you could use. Is there anything that you found that really doesn't work if you have decided to get creative? Like okra, I can imagine probably would be pretty weird without some serious care.
Yeah, that would definitely take some creativity to use okra, but that's one of the great things with veggie burgers is that there's such a variety of things that you can make it out of. In the cookbook, I have a whole chapter that is different veggie burger recipes. There's probably 10 or 12 there, and there are a lot of different. If you look online and you look at different veggie burger recipes of that use whole food healthy ingredients, not like trying to make like the Beyond Burgers or something, but for veggie burgers, you find they always have some kind of binder. So it's got, the brown rice or, the potato or, some kind of a grain to help make it sticky. You're going to have some different veggies pureed and put in. So, if you look at the different veggie burger recipes in the book, then, you'll kind of start to see the formula of how it's all put together. And so what I did in my book was, I really enjoy the flavors from all over the world so much. So, I really decided to, focus on having sort of different ethnic themes. So there's a Thai burger, there's a Jamaican veggie burger in there, there's the Indian one. So kind of visiting lots of different continents in that chapter. And so the next recipe that we're going to do is we're going to do the Italian vegan sausage. So let me just move things around here so I can get to that. Like I had said before, this is one that would really take too long to actually make start to finish. So I'm not going to be able to make the whole thing for the purposes of the class tonight, but I'll definitely put all the ingredients together and show you how to do it, show you the important parts of it. So really all you would need to do, beyond the point that I'm showing you, is to put it in a pot and steam it for 45 minutes and cook it up. So let me get that stuff ready here.
Oh, and one thing we haven't talked about, when I think of a good burger, it's got to go on a good bun. And we obviously could do a whole different class on baking breads, and everybody during the quarantine who's been doing sourdoughs, and I'm sure we could find 1,000 different recipes.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any go-to sources or do you have any suggestions for buns that especially go well? Do you use like a chapati when you do the masala burger, or?
That would be too creative for me. Usually, I like to buy the burger thins, the really thin ones. I have them in my fridge somewhere. I can pull it out. But those are a lot thinner than a regular bun, and so that's usually what I use, to be honest. I guess it's not a very creative answer, but I don't really get into baking. That's definitely not something that I do in the cookbook. So that's a whole other realm, and that would be definitely a different person teaching the class. I don't have any experience with baking like that, so there's my limitation.
It's good to know our limits.
Yes.
No problem with that at all.
Yep. Yeah. So this one, I think I need to use the food processor. Just kind of, I guess I do. Oh, my mistake. So let me just get the rest of what's in here out. I don't have, of all the recipes in the book, I don't have like a vegan hot dog recipe. Honestly, it's really not something that I have that much. So, for the occasion, for the rare occasion that I have, am at a cookout and I want a veggie hot dog, then, Smart Dogs or Light Life or whatever it is. A package of those is like $4 or $5. So it's a lot easier. If it's something that you're not going to have very often, then for me it's just a lot more convenient to buy it. But the veggie burgers I do like to have pretty regularly. So this one I think it's worth making. And like I said, if you have something like the Trader Joe's Indian masala burgers that taste fantastic, but every time I have those, then it sort of like sits in a pool of some oil. So that it's worth to me having something that's healthier.
Colin, as we transition to this third recipe and the last recipe for the night, we've gotten a question about what's the difference between the recipes in the PDF that we shared with folks and your cookbook. So I know that your the two burger recipes are in the cookbook. This Italian sausage recipe, though, is that in the book too? I don't remember.
Yep.
It is. Okay,
yeah.
So these are 3 recipes, but you get a whole lot more if people get the book. So This is definitely a teaser. And we've done, if people watch some of the older videos, we covered some other recipes from the book. You shared some recipes that are not in the book. And a teaser for next month, you're going to have recipes there. That's all about smoothies that taste like Girl Scout cookies. None of those have been published yet. So
that's right. Yeah, publishing is a long and arduous process for anybody who's ever gone through that. So, yeah, that one I'm still working on getting that published. But this one this one took from the time that I started writing it until I can hold it in my hand was a couple of years. So it's a long process. But in these classes that we've been doing, and definitely the classes that I teach, most of the recipes are in the cookbook here. This sausage recipe that we're going to do now, this is in the odds and ends section. There are the veggie burgers, and then like different veggie meatballs, like Swedish meatballs and things like that, that I show you how to make in the book. But this one was kind of more like an odds and ends, like didn't really fit into any category. So ready to go ahead with the last one?
Yeah, we're good. There's some love going out for people's favorite hot dogs out there. Some love going out to Field Roast, in addition to Smart Dogs and those others. And yeah, I've enjoyed the Field Roast too. So good to give them some respect.
I have to add a little editorial commentary on my own here. This, of course, doesn't represent the library. This is my own personal view. If you are new to veggie hot dogs, you've never had one before, please do not start with tofu pups. It'll be the last veggie hot dog you ever had. They're like nuclear orange, and I don't think they're very good. They were like the first veggie hot dog that came out, years and years and years ago. Some people, the hardcore people, they like them still, but I don't care for them at all. So Smart Dogs are great, really. You put that in a bun, you put the ketchup, mustard, relish, and stuff on it. It tastes just like a regular hot dog. So, all right. So
don't forget the sauerkraut. You got to have lots of sauerkraut in my book.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Those the Field Roast ones are very good. I've had those too for sure. All right. So this last one, Italian style vegan sausages. So I'll put all the ingredients together and get it ready, and then I'll show you how you would actually form it, because there's a fun trick to that. And so these ones take about 45 minutes to cook and steam, and then I like to have them, if you put them in the refrigerator, they really kind of set after a while, and then you can either freeze it or you can just keep it in the fridge and pull it out for later and put it on the grill. It tastes great. So if you've ever had the Tofurky vegan sausages, the Italian sausages, this is kind of what that's modeled after. Again, I don't have access to the actual recipe for it, so this was just kind of my attempt to try and make something similar to that. But this is something that you could put on the grill and have in a bun. You could cut it up and put it into spaghetti, a pasta and sauce recipe. It's pretty versatile. You can put it in a stir fry with some mushrooms and green bell pepper and some onions and things like that. So I did put a bunch of actually I just want to make sure I don't totally do everything backwards here. Everything basically goes in the food processor, and then the last ingredient is the wheat gluten that you put in. So why don't we go ahead and start with the food processor. It's going to be 6 cloves of garlic here. So this is going to get cooked, so it's not going to be so strong. There's going to be 2 tablespoons of tamari, which is basically like soy sauce. It's just tamari is just pure fermented soy, where soy sauce is actually a number of different fermented grains and soy. So that it's kind of a more natural form of sodium there. All right, and then we're going to put in, the recipe calls for ½ a cup of white wine. So when I'm cooking in libraries, I'm not allowed to use any wine. Clayton, since you are not in my apartment, then there's no way for you to verify whether this is white wine. It might be grape juice. Who knows? I don't know.
I sure hope it's actual white wine, Colin. What kind of wine do you like to use? Do you use cooking wine? Do you use a nice Pinot? Do you use a Sauvignon Blanc? What do you like?
I go to Trader Joe's and get the really, really cheap white wine.
There you go. All right.
So, but I was joking about it. If you don't want to use alcohol, you could definitely use, the grape juice or just water. You want to have half a cup of liquid in there because there are a number of ingredients in here that are going to soak up a lot of the liquid. So, it definitely does not have to be wine. It just, the wine adds a kind of a nice, like sour, bit of a sour taste to it. But, you could do the same thing with juice too if you didn't want to use any alcohol. So that's fine. We're going to do 1 cup of extra firm tofu. So I would definitely recommend the extra firm as much as you can because it tends to have the least amount of water in it. So with a block of tofu, this is the other half of the block here, you would want to press it. So I have a tofu press, but you could put a plate on it and just kind of squash it down for about 15 or 20 minutes just to try and get some of the liquid out. There's the liquid ingredients already in the recipe, so with the tofu, you want it to be as pressed as possible so you're not adding even more moisture to it. So here's the tofu in there. And, if you are not used to using tofu, it doesn't really have much of a taste. It just kind of absorbs everything that's there. So in the sausage, it just kind of gives it a bit of a body. So, if you've ever used Vital Wheat gluten to make seitan, which is something we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's basically the gluten part of bread. And that if you make seitan or you make, a sausage like this, if you use all gluten and you don't put something like tofu in it, then it's going to be really dense. So this helps to just kind of make it lighter. I really prefer that kind of a texture. We're going to do some sun-dried tomatoes here. So these ones, I don't, again, not really using that much oil. I usually like to get the dried ones and then just soak them. So it's about 6 in here. Sun-dried tomatoes. And again, that gives it a nice sour taste as well. We're going to put in half a cup of fresh basil. Really can never put in enough basil. I just love it. So there's the chopped basil. And I already put the dry ingredients already. There's a half a cup of nutritional yeast. So it's not nearly as scary as it sounds. This would be more of a specialty product that you would get at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or something like that. This kind of gives it a nice, again, adds a sourness to it, a lot of great nutritional benefits to it. So I'll just throw that in there. And we'll just go through the different dry ingredients. In here, I put in 2 tablespoons of onion powder. I usually put in a tablespoon of fennel seeds or fennel powder. Usually in this one, I would use fennel powder just so that when you bite into it, you're not, biting into a fennel seed. There's 2 teaspoons of ground black pepper, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, 2 teaspoons of the sea salt, smoked sea salt, if you could get it, makes it even better. And then there's 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. So I'll put that in here. And then I'm going to just food process this for a minute just to get everything mixed up together. And then we'll add the wheat gluten at the end. So go ahead and get this started here.
So Colin, while you buzz that, there's been a couple of questions. There are definitely several of us who are wishing that you could deliver because this looks absolutely fabulous. There was a question about whether we could use red wine instead of white wine or that as a liquid, which I don't know if you've ever used that, but I assume it would work.
Yes, I actually have used it, and it definitely affects the flavor pretty strongly in this particular recipe. I've done both, and I don't really particularly like the red wine in this recipe, but it's up to you. I like it with the white because it's just a lighter kind of flavor to it.
Have you ever tried using, like, just on that whole theme? I'm thinking of beer brats and using like a Pilsner or some kind of lighter beer could be an interesting to throw in too. I don't know if you've ever done that.
Yeah. Um, I myself really don't like beer at all. Um, I never have it in the house, so if I was going to do that, I'd have to buy it specifically for that, and then just like, give the rest to you or something because, well,
That works for me. That sounds good.
yeah.
How about using vinegar? Would you like dilute some vinegar if you didn't want to use, if that was easier or that was your preference? Have you tried that?
Yeah.
Maybe
I haven't tried that, but that would definitely work. Sure.
Yeah. There's another question. We've had a couple of folks that are gluten-free or have gluten sensitivities.
Oh, I knew you were going to show up, guys.
Yeah. Is there any possibility? Is there any substitute for the gluten in this, or do they really? It's a no-go.
What I'm going to have to recommend is that for this one, I don't know the answer to that. I've been asked that before, and I am not aware of a gluten-free solution to using gluten powder. Certainly, if you are allergic to gluten, then gluten powder, Vital Wheat gluten is going to be your worst nightmare because it is just absolute pure gluten. So it just has the property of making it really spongy and also holding things together really well. So I've tried using chickpea flour in place of it, and it definitely, the wheat gluten does so much to help, hold it together and stay in one piece. And the chickpea flour definitely does not work for that. So really, if anybody knows of an answer, I would love to know that, because people ask me that sometimes. There really are only a few recipes in the cookbook that I call for wheat gluten. I do try to use the unprocessed whole food ingredients as much as possible in the book. That's really what it's focused on. Definitely, wheat gluten is a processed ingredient. It's a processed product, so it's it's a refined and stripped away ingredient. So it's not really something that I like to use and eat all the time. But for a sausage like this, I don't know. I mean, I used a lot of the tofu instead, so that it's not all wheat gluten. So you're kind of cutting it, with different things. But I don't know what you could use to substitute that. So we're going to put in 1 cup of the Vital Wheat gluten. Again, this would be, probably something that you'd either find it online, or you can go to Whole Foods. They usually have it. But in a regular supermarket, it's a little bit harder to find. So so I put the mixture in the bowl here, and then pour that in. And then this one, I'm just going to mix it by hand and just kind of mix the wheat gluten into it. And again, this would be something that normally I would recommend that you let it sit for a while. So you can see the wheat gluten kind of absorbs the liquid that was in the from the food processor. And it smells great though. Wheat gluten itself doesn't really have, it's sort of like tofu, it doesn't really have that much of a taste by itself. It's really the spices and the herbs that you put into it that really give it the taste. So, all right. So I'm just gonna do one as an example so that you can see the process of how this works here. Just move stuff out of the way. Are you able to see my countertop here? Probably not very well. I'll try to hold it up so that you can see it. All right, so what we're going to do is we start with a piece of tin foil. Yeah. Oh, that's parchment paper. Tin foil. So you have a couple of options here. You can put this in the tin foil, or if you really don't want your food to be touching the tin foil, you can use parchment paper for that. So that's what I'm going to do. And all right. So basically, this is just kind of like a blob, right? It doesn't really have a form. You know, if you were to cook it as is, you know, without any kind of covering, especially with the wheat gluten, it's going to kind of expand. So what you do is you roll it up, take a piece like this, sausage size. There we go. Like I said, this is definitely going to expand, right? So you have that. You're going to put this in the paper like that, and you're basically just going to roll it up so it's sort of like a piece of sushi or cookie roll or something. Right? So then you twist the end, and then as it cooks, it's going to cook in here. You put this in a steamer pot for about 45 minutes. And so as it cooks, then it's going to expand. And it takes the shape of whatever you've put it in here. So once this is done cooking in about 45 minutes, you take it out and then put it in the fridge so that it can really set. And then once you take it out, it's going to be a perfect sausage shape there. So you have that. So usually I just do it in the tin foil, but you know, like I said, if you really you know, don't want to have it in touching the tin foil, you can use the parchment paper and then do it in the tin foil here. So that's the trick to that.
How many sausages does this recipe make?
Oh, this one is, I think, about 6 to 8, depending on the size of how big you make them. I mean, this one is going to expand and get somewhat larger, but you know, you could do longer ones or bigger ones. If you're going to do bigger ones, you know, in circumference, then you would want to steam these for longer. I'm not really sure that you can overcook these, to be honest. You know, if you wanted to do it if they were bigger and you wanted to do it for an hour and a half, then that's totally fine. If you open it up and you find that, you know, it still feels kind of uncooked, then you can just roll it back up and cook it for longer as well. So,
have you ever tried baking them and using any other methods other than steaming, or is steaming really essential?
The steaming seems to really work the best for this, for the kind of texture that you want to be like a sausage. Baking them, you know, especially like if it's in the open, the texture is definitely going to be different. So,
a couple other questions. One is, where do you find parchment paper?
Regular supermarket. So parchment paper, tinfoil, wax.
It's right there in the baking aisle. Yep, that's where I found it too.
Yep.
We've had a couple people with suggestions for different binders, and I don't know if you have any experience with some of the ideas that have come across, or xanthan gum. A few people have said tapioca flour, agar-agar, arrowroot, flaxseed or chia seeds. So I assume, I mean, those could be binders. I'm not sure if they would expand. I mean, what you're doing when you're steaming is really taking those gluten and helping that gluten really express. So it's not just about binding the tofu. It's doing more than that.
Right. I've never used xanthan gum or, you know, any of the kinds of gums in cooking before, but in some of the veggie meatball recipes that I have in the book, I do use chia seeds. I basically grind those to a powder and then mix it with water, and that kind of creates a gel that helps to make it sticky and help it bind. But that's still, like, the veggie meatball recipes that I have in there do use some wheat gluten because, you know, even with the chia gel, it really, it's not going to hold it together in the same way that wheat gluten would. So thank you, everybody, for those suggestions. I'm not sure that, like, for sausages and for veggie meatballs, I'm not sure that without the gluten it's really going to hold together and have the same kind of consistency. But you know, it's definitely worth experimenting with.
Do you have any finished sausages that you have already steamed, so you can show us what it looks like when it's been through that process?
Of that, no. I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay.
It looks about the same, except bigger, and it's very firm. But
And then do you usually eat it straight there? Or usually when I make something like this, then I think you probably even said this already, but maybe I missed it. You put it, you fry it up, you put it on the grill. Yeah. So it needs additional cooking after the steaming too.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. But I mean, once it's steamed, then it's not raw anymore. So, you could eat it. Once you cooked it, you put it in the fridge. If you wanted just to eat it straight, then you could. If you want to know what it's like, if you've ever had the tofurkey, the vegan Italian sausage, like I think Trader Joe's, they make, they have that also. It's just like that. It's really similar to that. So, I mean, something like that, it's all cooked, so you could take it out of the fridge. The tofurkey Italian sausages, you could take it out and just, cut it up and eat it, that way already. But, I like to cook it and have it in different things.
There's been a couple other folks talking about parchment paper. There's been a shout out that Dollar Tree sells parchment paper. And there's another person who has been suggesting If You Care, which is an organic parchment paper that's fully compostable. They make other baking products as well. They're also non-bleached. So there's definitely some options out there when you're looking at parchment paper, which I hadn't heard of the If You Care before. I may have seen it in the store before. It's good to know about. So, yeah.
Okay.
Had somebody else who was wondering, they had never tried a veggie burger before. And they were wondering how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how does it taste? How would you judge your veggie burgers? I assume, you're publishing your veggie burgers and telling us about them tonight because they're tops. So I would expect that's exactly where it would be. But do you have advice, just like with Tofu Pups, if you're trying a veggie burger for the first time? For me, it's all about the fixings, but these also sound like awesome veggie burgers, and the sausage tonight just sounds like a step above. It'd be really fun. I guess my advice, nobody asked for it, but I'm going to share it anyway, would be to go in there just expecting a good flavor. And if you're omnivorous and have eaten lots of other burgers and sausages, not to expect it to be the same or to be a replacement, but to be something different. And if you go in with an open mind, you may enjoy it a lot more than if you expect it to be exactly like a replacement.
Right.
I find I enjoy these products a lot more if I just enjoy them as fresh flavors that I know are plant-based, and I enjoy that. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's similar to what I tell people about, if whether you're buying, some kind of plant-based milk, whether it's soy milk or almond milk or oat milk or something like that, or if you're making it yourself, then, I always look at it, it's its own thing. It's not trying, really you could use it in cereal and things like that, but there's nothing that I've ever had for plant-based milk that tastes just like cow milk. And, if you have it, if you've never had it and you try it for the first time and you're like, oh, this is not really great tasting cow milk. It's not supposed to be. It's like its own thing. So these veggie burgers are similar to that, where, it's really not trying to be meat. I'm really not trying to make it taste like meat. 5 years ago, I would have said, a Boca burger is the closest you're going to get. But, I've had the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger, and I know a lot of people. I've certainly seen a lot of people online who, they'll have it and they say it tastes just like a regular meat burger. So if that's really what you want, if that's really what you're going for, then there certainly are meat analogs out there that I would say, and a lot of people would say, taste pretty similar. But these are really kind of their own thing. Like I said, these burger recipes that I have in here are really specifically, trying to have different ethnic flavors. So really trying to have an Indian flavor or Thai flavor, or, all these different things that, it's so much more fun, like meat burger, like there's just the one kind, really, right? But, here we get to have flavors from all over the world. So I think it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. There's folks giving some shout outs to Dr. Prager's, the kale burger. He's getting some love tonight. We have some folks giving love to Oatly oat milk, which I know is popular. I know my daughter loves the full fat, extra creamy oat milks when people are going for those.
Yeah.
There are some folks wondering if they're traveling, or if you're traveling and going around on a road trip, if there are good places that are reliable fast food joints or chains that have reliable veggie burgers to pick up.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you're wanting to go for a Beyond Burger or Impossible Burger, then Burger King has those. It's definitely questionable as to whether it's vegan, but you can get it with no cheese and no dairy. You can go to, I think, TGI Fridays, and a lot of the chain places now, the family restaurants, they either have Beyond Burger, Impossible Burger, or something like that. I know
Wahlburgers was one of the first. They did I think they did the Beyond or the Impossible.
Yeah.
So that's before you could even find it anywhere else. It was even in the store. They were a pretty early adopter.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I know a lot of vegans who would say, never, health food vegans, especially, not going to eat anything like that, Beyond Burger, Impossible Burger. I've had it before. I think it tastes good. I prefer to make my own food for the most part, but if I'm out and it's a convenience, and if it's there, then I've had it. It's good.
The last question that I'm seeing tonight, unless people want to ask any, and I'm across the chats, we're getting lots of compliments and people saying it looks great, which I certainly agree. This last question is a little bit kind of more general about your experience with vegan food and plant-based diets. There was a question about if you have any experience or if you can recommend going vegan for somebody who's living with MS. And it's pretty broad. Obviously, you or I are not medical professionals. I would always encourage people to talk to medical professionals or professional nutritionists on that. But
right.
I don't know if you have any experience with MS and diets. So.
I don't. No. One resource that's been really great, for me, for lots of different medical questions and especially how it relates to vegan diet is nutritionfacts.org. That is Dr. Michael Greger. He's a vegan doctor, and it's all free. Nutritionfacts.org. There are, a zillion different, little 5-minute videos. You can search for lots of different health topics. So, sometimes when I'm teaching classes and people ask me, about, specific health issues, then, as you said, like, I'm definitely not a health professional. So, there are a lot of those things I don't really know much about that, I would definitely say Michael Greger, his website is a great online resource. It's free for everybody to use. And also, if you can find a vegan doctor or a vegan nutritionist, sometimes you have to search, but certainly if you're in the Boston area, then I believe there are some there. And to have a health professional, to have a team of health professionals that work with you, who really know about this and are really educated about plant-based nutrition, it's invaluable. It's if you can have that kind of support team. And my regular doctor for many years is not vegetarian or vegan, and as soon as he found out that I was vegetarian, he said, "Oh, no, you can't do that. It's very unhealthy." Come on.
There were a couple other doctors that got shout outs earlier tonight too that I'll repeat for everybody. It was Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, or Esselstyn.
Yep.
Dr. Michael Clapper and Dr. Neil Barnard.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, all great.
There are definitely some really smart folks who've gone through medical school and have some great things to say. So I would encourage folks who have those kind of more personal medical questions to seek out advice from some of these folks who have gone deep into those, and then come back to us for some good recipes. Come back to you. Yeah.
Right.
There are, let's see, some of the other questions that have come out. Oh, there was a shout out to a vegan diner in Pittsfield called the Thrive Diner, which is exciting. I will have to go, and I haven't been to Pittsfield recently, but always good to know that I always love learning about a new vegan diner. That's really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. if you like to travel, then I always recommend Happy Cow.
Absolutely.
It's a funny name, but it's a great app that you can download on your phone, and it shows where all the vegan and vegetarian friendly restaurants are, really all over the world. I've had it for years, and I use that app all the time when I travel. It's a great resource.
Yeah, I'm a Happy Cow user too. They are fabulous. There was Michael Clapper, Dr. Clapper has a website, Plant-Based Doctors. So if you look that up too, with more references, which is great. Thank you, Colin. So much fun.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to sign off. I wish you well, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.